Hi, and welcome to the podcast. Make sure you click that subscribe button, like, and share. I do not own the rights to any audio or video clips used in this podcast.
I've been making plans, oh baby, baby, I've been making plans for you.
Are going to know depth.
Alrighty, now I just learned something today. This damn thing won't work. Okay, so I was saying, I'm going to start with this excerpt from Pastor.
Mm-hmm.
Shit, I'm going to share that screen.
Single young lady, some guy wants to take you out. He says, can I take you out? You have to ask yourself, what's your motive? These days when people come to you and say, hey, how you doing? Are you all right? You're like trying to, what's the motive? Why are you talking to me? Because you know, church folks can hide behind the church and not let you know what the real deal is. And that's why I say, single people, if you're dating somebody, you need to ask 1,000 questions during the dating process.
Was that there? So just off the top, y'all, I thought they were really a really good starting point. No matter what you believe in, asking the questions. I know initially a lot of the response to this was like, it's overwhelming and it's too much. It depends on one, where you are in your life, because I'm sure that's not a thought when you're young. And coming in, I feel like with a motive is not such a bad thing. But again, it depends on where you are in your life. If you're dating just to date, you're just trying to have a good time with somebody versus marriage, but we're talking about marriage. So you're coming in with a motive or from the gate. So 1,000 questions. 1,000 questions. Hi, Devon. I can barely hear you. Oh, you're muted. So I think those are all appropriate questions. I think some of them are definitely very relative to your age. But what is your motive? That's the main point. Is that appropriate or inappropriate? And how would you respond to it?
Wait,
What is your motive? Coming into a relationship when you're dating.
what is the motive for you coming into a relationship when you're dating? I don't know how you feel about that person. Every time, you don't, huh? I guess it depends depending on the person, because you don't go into every situation with the same thing in mind.
Go ahead, say what you were saying, Tati. I was saying it depends on how you feel about the person, because every situation you go into is a little different, and the more you talk to the person, you kind of start in your mind categorizing whether this is the person you're gonna marry or this is the person you're just having fun with. So you kind of go into it a little different. It's more so just feeling out the person. I don't think you should go into it just automatically thinking I'm gonna marry this person. You know.
Anyone else want to respond to that? Age. Like I said, it depends on the age. Cause when you're young, I feel like, yeah, that's pretty logical. You shouldn't be coming into a relationship thinking of that. When you're of a certain age, that might be your focal point in dating in the first place.
Okay.
Because you see that a lot, especially if a person is single, they're pretty up there in age and they want to settle down. That's going to be their primary focus and drive in dating in the first place. And it could be, to me, I feel like it's insane to think about approaching a person with 1,000 questions, because you're in that frame of mind. They may not be. And even if they are, how do you approach that? Because it's almost like you're doing like a dating app would do, or like you're doing interrogation.
Right. I guess it's more so having I wouldn't interrogate a person. I would more so just have discussions. Like there's plenty of videos on YouTube, like relationship, not guides, but like just like table talks. You know, people having like discussions of things they've talked about, like financials before marriage, or how does the person feel about divorce? Like just sitting down and having these conversations. It doesn't need to be like an interrogation though.
So to catch you up where we were, listening to an excerpt from a pastor. He was talking about motives. We were just discussing coming into a relationship or dating rather, and asking that question, what is your motive? And we were just discussing the appropriateness of it. I was saying that it's definitely relative to age. I missed a little bit of what Divine was saying because I was on the phone with you. Divine, could you recap what you were saying?
Basically, like I don't think it's inappropriate to ask those questions, but with that being said, you don't have to do it in a manner where you are interrogating somebody, like just having open conversations about certain things. Whether it be like you start off talking about their parents' marriage or lack of their parents' marriage, and you start incorporating yourself in how you feel about marriage or how you feel about finances or how you feel about certain things. But it doesn't have to be an interrogation though.
Agree.
How long of a dating period would you think is appropriate to get all your questions answered?
I can say something? No, Angelique.
Whoever wants to go first. Angelique,
go ahead, Angelique.
I think it depends. Sometimes when people are younger, they're not necessarily that serious. They're kind of more trying to have fun, or they might want to be with a person for I don't know how to say it, but they may be thinking about marriage, but later on, so they have more time to discover who somebody is, and they're just okay with like being in the dating phase. But I feel like when you're older, at least for me, like I want to know I feel like within a few dates, I need to really have a good sense of what we're doing and where it's going. Because you're not going to be in a relationship. Well, you shouldn't. I shouldn't say shouldn't, but I don't plan on being in a relationship after our first date. But I need a few dates to have conversation and get to know you and feel you out. But I can't say you put a timestamp on it. But I would say at least within like maybe 3 to 6 months, if you're really dating seriously and looking to be married, I would say 3 to 6 months, you should have a good idea of a lot of your questions. And hopefully in that time frame, you've gotten a chance to see this person at their best and their worst, because those are two of the times where you're going to really see the person's character. How they feel, how they react when they think everything is going their way, and how they react when they feel like nothing is going their way.
I can agree with that. Definitely. That 3 to 6 month period, especially like you said, when you're seriously dating, you're seeing how they interact with people in public. You're seeing how they treat you behind closed doors. You're seeing how they treat their family. Like you're really getting to know this person. So I agree. That's a good time period.
On the first date, what are you asking? If you're trying to get to know a person that you want to marry.
Well, wait, I don't know if I want to marry them on the first date yet.
Right. The first date too.
Like the way that was worded, it was like, wait, I don't even know. I'm trying to figure out if I even want to
if you're dating
a relationship with you, let alone get married to you.
Okay, just keeping to topic.
Huh?
We're keeping to topic. We are talking about going into marriage. So you're dating,
right?
Go into marriage. So you're coming in with that motive already. Yes, you're in a period of getting to know. So how are you getting to know this person in general? Whether you were just going to date for fun or you were thinking about marriage.
Can you ask the question again? I'm sorry, I have to rehear it the right way.
Yeah.
Thanks.
On that first date, on that first couple of dates, what are the kind of questions you're asking with the motive of I'm looking for someone I'm going to marry? I want to be in a serious, exclusive relationship with.
On the first date, what's the questions that you ask?
In the
So,
first
like,
couple of
Are you involved with someone else?
Hold on. You said, okay, let's say the question one more time. On the first date.
That's a good one.
On the first date, with the motive that you are looking to get into a long-term relationship or marry this person, what are the kind of questions you're asking?
What kind of questions?
Do you have kids?
Children? Right.
Oh, yeah. Always ask, do they got kids? Do they got a baby mama?
Where do you work?
People
Yeah.
ask about jobs too. People keep it very easy. You know, what do you do for a living? And, you know, where are you from? Those type of things. People kind of keep it light on the first dates. You know, because the first dates, even if you have that intent, it's still kind of, you know, cheesy, or you got this big wall up. So you kind of put this facade on, you know, for the first date. So I think a lot of questions are pretty light and generic.
I
think it really is. I really think it is all depending on where you are at in your life when you hit that first date with this person. Because at a certain point in life, you got yourself together. I'm coming out the gate. Hey, I'm not saying I'm trying to marry you, but are you looking to be married sometime in the future? Period. I'm gonna let you know out the gate, hey, I'm at a point in my life where I want to be married. I don't get scared. Don't get scared. I'm not trying to say I'm marrying you, but do you foresee yourself being married in the near future? Yes or no? Because if the answer is no, boom, let's enjoy the rest of the date. Go home. Period.
I actually agree with that, especially because most of my dating is online dating, and based on a person's profile, they may have already put in their profile that they're looking for something serious. They don't want to hook up. So it's like reiterating the things in your profile, I try to make sure, like, did what you say in your profile match up with what you're telling me now? Because some people do some weird stuff where they have multiple profiles on different things and they're just saying whatever to try to meet whoever. So, but yeah, I definitely agree. Like for me, getting to the point, you know, do you want to be married? Do you see yourself married within the next 2 years?
And
go ahead.
I'm kind of glad you made that point though, about the dating profile and people saying things to just get you in the door kind of thing. Because that happens on real dates. You really go on dates with these people and you ask these questions and they're looking at your expressions to see what kind of answer you're looking for. And that's how they go forward. So I understand you want to know on the first date, but you don't really know. You know, I mean, it does help to ask so they know where you stand. But as for knowing for sure, if like, you know, this is going to be where you proceed at, like, or if this is the person for you, you're not going to know for sure on that first date with those questions.
I wanted to point out the pastor that Net played in the beginning, and he was like going lots and lots and lots and lots of dates. Lots and lots and lots and lots of dates. And I don't necessarily think when you're in that dating pool and you're looking to be married, I don't think you should just be dating one person. You date, you know, date everybody. Date them all. Date their daddy. You know, like you should be dating.
Not the daddy now. Not the daddy.
But, you know, at a point, you know, at a certain age, I don't have time to beat around the bush. If you want to just sleep around, let it be known on the first day. I'm at that age now where we don't have to be coy and how's the weather where you're at? Have you ever been to this island? No, boo-boo. What is your intention? Let's set the intention from the beginning. But like I said, it does depend on age and where you are in your life at this point. And I'm at the point, like in the dating arena, hey, let's just put it on the table. You looking for booty? You looking for cootie? What you looking for? Are you married? You know, these are the things I want to know up front, out the gate, and then pending on the answers to those questions, then we proceed. But you can't find out if that person is lying because, like Tootsie was saying, they language. You light up because, oh, you want to get married too, yay! And then they could be, you know, finessing you They could be finessing you in bed because you thinking you want to get married. But the key is asking a lot of questions. Asking a lot of, because if somebody,
You know, I think asking questions is awesome, but I guess it'll be destiny, not destiny as in a person, but a person's destiny. You just kind of never know, because you can ask a person those questions like in the beginning on the first date or whatever, and then people can change and things can evolve to be like, oh wow, I met my wife or whatever, you know. But so I mean, it's good to ask questions, but you know, you kind of really don't know until you guys wound up being in a relationship.
That's a
I
very
think when you're
valid
dating, I think you should look for more, like, ask questions more character based, or just look at their character more often. Like if you're going on a date, how they talk to certain people, or how they interact with certain people, or if they're having a conversation with a friend and you literally hear them lying to a friend, like certain, right, their choices that they're making as you're on this date. It's not necessarily the questions that you ask, it's more so just how this person interacts on a day-to-day basis is what you should be looking at. The questions help. They help like put you guys in the right frame of mind. But the little small cues of when you're like interacting with this person or they're interacting with someone else is really what you should be looking at when you're looking for someone to marry.
this might be,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
This might be a sidebar. This might not be on topic, but something that I started doing recently is I make an opportunity to have a man read out loud in front of me. Because you could tell a whole lot about a person.
looking like a true teacher.
You
that
could
would
tell
have
a
never
whole lot
crossed my
about a
mind.
person. And so one of the things that I started doing on dates is we have a reading date. What did you think about this article? Read this article. What did you think about it? And I always find an opportunity for a man to read to me out loud. And because comprehension is bigger than anything. Because that's another thing, because most relationships start to dysfunction on communication. So in those beginning, I need to know if you got good comprehension skills. Because I play more about dudes with third grade reading levels. So that is important to me. You know, as I got older, I need to know where you stand cognitively, how you process things. And you can do that real easily by reading a book together or a short article or reflecting on something that you read or saw. Comprehension is the key. And if your mate, your potential person that you're seeking to marry can't comprehend, next, swipe.
That is so wise. That would have never crossed my mind. Never. Especially, I like to have intellectual conversations. I don't talk about garbage. I don't talk about stuff on TV or stuff with some celebrity or some other bullcrap. I talk about like stuff going on in the world or social issues or politics or just stuff about, I don't know, it could be something interesting about a plant or gardening. Like I like to have intellectual conversations, and it would be that I've got to use that because that would be so important to me to find someone who can stimulate my mind.
So you guys have all touched on this next part that I'm gonna go into, digging in a little bit deeper when it comes to the motives, because it's not just the motive for the relationship, it's the motive for yourself. Are you looking for this person to be a partner, to bring you peace, to bring you wealth? You know, what is your motive, not just for, you know, dating or marriage, but fulfillment? And are you really thinking about then, what does that mean for the other person? Go ahead.
You're getting deeper on that one, girl.
So I know what I want to say, but it's like putting into the words. Whatever your motive is, I think as long as you're upfront about it, that's the biggest thing, is being upfront about it. It's kind of like with the hookup culture. Like, why are you lying about wanting to be in a relationship when there's plenty of women out there who will just give it up anyways? It's like, just be honest about what it is. There's a way to do it that might turn people off, and there's a way to do it that, but you know, but just be honest. You know, there are men out there who want to take care of a woman who maybe doesn't want to work. It may take you a little bit longer to find that man, and you may have to make some changes to what you know, how you present yourself to maybe great, like attract that person. But there are men out there who want to do that. There are men who want a traditional wife. There are men who want a woman who works, or there are also men who don't want children, or just like there's women who don't want children. Like, you just have to be upfront. So I don't, even though like to everybody, somebody else's motive might seem like frivolous or selfish or stupid or just whatever, but ultimately I feel like just as long as you're upfront about it is the most important thing, because you will find somebody. If you want an open relationship, there's people who want open. If you want to swing, you know, if you don't want to get married or for whatever reason, even if you want to be married but you want to live in separate houses, like there is somebody who was for that. If you want to keep your finances separate, if you want everything to be together, like, so it's just being open. But that is very important to know, to check on the flip side too, just checking to make sure you're not trying to fill some hole or looking for somebody to complete you in some way because there's something that you didn't work on in yourself.
Very well said.
Right?
Anyone else want to add? You are muted. Destiny, I'm not sure if you were trying to talk. I was agreeing with Angelie.
I was gonna say, I got it. I was gonna say, location is important too. Like, where you meet these people at. Like, if you saying, oh, I want a wholesome man, you can't go to the strip club for a wholesome man. You know what I'm saying? If you say, I want an educated man, you can't be looking in these certain places for this educated man. You know, you got to be willing to broaden your horizons. And it's also about what you bring to the table. Because I get sick and tired of hearing these girls, ooh, I want me a wealthy man. I want me a man to take care of me. I want me a man to do this, that, and the third, but can't cook, can't clean, can't wash your body, can't wash a piece of laundry. No, that's not how it works. I feel like what you're looking for, you also have to possess in yourself. And I really feel like sometimes it's unfair how women like just sometimes just be going over the top on what they expect a man to do. But then when you hear what they want you to do, it's like, I'm not doing it. You asking for too much now. Since you just asking, Ava, that's not fair. I feel like.
I agree. You made me think of that scene from Coming to America with the first part of what you said, where the guy, where Eddie Murphy's character, he meets the guy, he's like, oh, well, you got to go to church. You want me to? That's when got to go to church. I mean, I'm not saying you literally have to go to church, but it is an aspect of being mindful of where you're meeting people. And I was actually talking to a coworker last week, and she had a friend who, she moved out of the state now, but she used to purposely go to lunch on like Wall Street on purpose, just because she knew there'd be people out there, like, or after work on bars. She would go to bars and stuff like on Fridays and stuff, like in the financial district. And I was like, that is so smart. That is so smart.
Yes.
You never know who you might meet and who might want to buy you a drink or something. And I was like, wow, that never crossed my mind.
Yeah. And you know what? One last thing, and then I'm done. But looks, I feel like dressing the part is also important too. Because on a date, you don't always have to be showing every single thing. You know what I'm saying? I always follow the rule. If I'm showing my legs, I'm not going to show my boobs. If I'm showing my boobs, I'm not going to show my legs. That's how I do it. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like for instance, if you want a wholesome church man, okay? Don't be coming up in there with a mini skirt and, you know, a corset. You know, hey, I don't think so. You know, no, you have to like Leah said, dress accordingly. You know what I'm saying?
That's
now, if that's just how you dress, then hey, you know, that's how you dress. But you have to realize that how you dress affects who approaches you and what they say to you. I mean, it sucks to say that, but especially as a woman, and depending on where you're going, how you dress it affects how people approach you, the type of people approach you, and what people say when they approach you. You know? Because I don't think, like, if you, like my mom said, if you go into a baseball game, you don't have to put on a mini skirt and a tube top and some heels. No, you go into a baseball game. You know what I'm saying? But if that's your prerogative, then hey, go for it. You know what you want and you know what you're doing. But, you know, if you're looking for certain qualities or if you want certain things, you're gonna have to be willing to, you know, change it up a little bit. You know? But that's it. That's it. I need to comb my hair. Strawberry. What tray at?
In just a moment, I'm going to share another video. This will be
That's why I took my gun.
that you saw in the initial post. And it's featuring another interviewer who was interviewing people that have been in relationships a bit longer. It's from another reality show. I believe this is on OWN. Give me 1 second.
One of the things that has been important here is to make sure that you see real stories of love. And so today, pay attention to how their stories mirror your own and ask questions. What I want you to walk away with today is knowing that no relationship is without its challenges, and know that no matter where you are in your relationship, that anything is possible.
Right, before I just want to segue into it. So we talked about the initial dating period, getting into the relationship. And after you've asked those 1,000,000 questions, it's still work. It's still a lot to continue to not just question, but consider. When you found that person that you want to marry, be in a committed relationship with, just be, even if you're not exclusive, because you're, you know, some kind of alternative relationship type, but you go to the next point where you're still kind of going back to those same 1,000 questions, because like we talked about before, depending on where you are in your life, the answers change. So does anyone, before we start, want to comment or anything on the video we just saw?
Hello? Oh, Angelique, my bad.
Oh, I just want to say the only thing that I noticed was that the common thread was just like good communication, making sure that you talk things out, that you make your feelings known to that person, not somebody else.
I just have a comment. I feel like the video clip was all sweet and gave you butterflies and all of that, but it is a true oversimplification of 80 some odd years of marriage. When that dude, when the 103-year-old man said, I was a bad guy. What did that woman go through in that 83 years that couldn't fit into that segment? You know, and the younger people were talking about social media and stuff like that. But we all know that generation of people have families, whole families down the street. So I think that segment was beautiful, you know, got me a little, you know, emotional or whatever. However, I think it was an oversimplification of their presentation of love.
I did not catch what Gloria caught about the guy saying he was like a bad dude. I remember when she just said what she said. Now it made me think of a clip that went viral a few years ago with a pastor named John Gray, and an interview that he did where he spoke about how his wife is like a coat he had to grow into. And he didn't go into a lot of detail. He said some other stuff too, but like a lot of people were reading between the lines, and it was like, what the heck? Like, I don't want somebody to grow into me, like be mature enough in the beginning. And it's kind of interesting because him and his wife are still like that pastor and his wife, they're still married. They're, you know, fine. I mean, from what you can see on the surface, that's all I mean. Like, there's nothing out there about them getting a divorce or anything like that. But it's just interesting what you said, Gloria, because yeah, you don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And yeah, people are married for all these years, but you don't know what it took to get to that place, like what sanding down happened and things like that.
Thank you, ladies. Anyone else? Go ahead. You muted.
You were saying, wait, Angelie, say that last part you said. You said, what was that last part you said?
I said that like when people are married all those years, like 80 years, whatever, you don't know, like they're still married, but you don't know what they went through and like what kind of sanding down that happened, like what got sanded off. Somebody's not a good person or they're rough around the edges, you know, and the Bible says iron sharpens iron, but like what happened to get you to a place where like, because you don't, yeah.
I think certain things within a marriage should remain between two people. Because when you involve others, that's when it can get really complicated and really messy. You know, so I feel like if you two are having issues and you can't resolve those issues among yourself, then, you know, you seek therapy. But as of, you know, I'm going to go to my mama and tell my mama, no. I don't think certain stuff like that, I don't think you should do that.
I think that's why the whole social media thing kept like coming up. Like that whole how they said social media was the reason for nowadays of why things don't work out or whatever. I think it's because like you have the platform to say this isn't working. How do I fix this? Like he's doing this, that, and the third, and I want him to stop type thing. You have that platform to go out there and put your business on the street and get that opinion back. And so do I think it's like a social media thing that's the issue with this generation? No. I think it's more of a self-discipline thing. And if you're gonna like put your business out there and ask for feedback, you kind of have to have that mental solitude to know what's best for you and your relationship, and you know, and while you're taking the advice. You see what I'm saying?
I think before you even getting into the relationship, it's important to have asked yourself those questions and developed your own character, even if you're coming in your teens, in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, because it's going to be different depending on the age, depending where you are, depending what you're looking for at that time. So if you are, I want to say damaged, because like Angelique was saying earlier, if you put it out there, be honest from the gate, there's someone out there for you with exactly what you need, what you want, and y'all can grow together, which is fine. But it's important to realize what you're putting out there and how not only it can be received, but how it can be used. It can be used to build you or to break you down. And I feel like that's a lot of the reason we have the issue with people airing things out on social media, because that work wasn't done and they're reaching out to get the help. Now, there was a couple of comments within the video where the guy was talking about like the grass is greener on the other side type of thing because of, you know, social media, you got all of these lawns. I agreed when the lady was like, and everybody else is with fertilizer too. That's very important to think about because she harped on it's a choice. It's a choice. You made that choice to either put your business out there or cheat because you see what this girl got or what this guy got and you're questioning, you know, your own relationship. But if you came in with the insecurities in the first place and then you compromised with a partner who wasn't, you know, feeding you in the way you needed to be fed and you're feeding that person the way they need to be fed, then you leave yourself open. These are the things that happen. I don't blame social media for it. I think that, like I said, if you did that work beforehand, and that's a bigger discussion of just our culture and society. because I feel like even with the older couples, there's some element of that, but because like the elder lady was saying, keep your family out of your business, create your own tribe. People are kind of doing that. It's kind of being thrown at them through social media rather than them developing their own and focusing on the like-minded people within their group that could provide that. Now we have it kind of just thrown at us where the first couple, the interracial couple, they kind of had to fight through where they were in their time. Again, another example of time, like where you are, when you are, and you're developing a relationship. That was a whole other kind of scope on a relationship of where they're fighting to prove other people wrong about their love. Versus, you know, another couple, they might have had a whole different dynamic coming in. And what kept them together, again, with IHC, both connected, they both had a shared kind of focus. And why no matter what chiseling had to happen, they decided that they want to do it. They didn't go outward. They decided we're going to keep chiseling, we're going to keep working at it. Like Destiny was saying, they do their therapy, they do what they have to do together, not with all the other outside influences like some of the younger couples blame on social media. Go ahead, Angelie.
You know, you just made me think of something too, like, oh, how do I put it into words? Like, one of the things that I think we should all question, not only of ourselves, but of potential partners is, why do you want what you want? Like, what is your, like, and it kind of goes back to motive, but motive is more like, what do you want? Like, it's slightly different to me, but just that last thing that you said about the chiseling and them deciding that they wanted to go through that. Like, I think it's so important to find someone who really has a right idea of marriage. I think it's overly romanticized a lot in our culture. And a lot of people, I think, focus on a wedding and not a marriage. And they don't understand all the different things that can come in. You know, somebody could get ill. Somebody could get injured at work and then not be able to work. You could struggle with fertility and that could put a strain on your marriage. Or you could lose a child and that could put a strain on your marriage. There's a number of things that can happen. You know, maybe your spouse, it never even really maybe they always gave the impression that they were just fine with what they were doing in their job, and then all of a sudden they want to do something else. I don't want to do this anymore. They want to change careers, do a whole flipperoo. Or maybe they always seemed content with their level, and now they're thinking about trying to move up a ladder, but it means, you know, all these different changes, maybe moving or more hours. Like, all these things can happen that put strain on a relationship. And while you can't possibly foresee what life has in store, and you don't necessarily want to have hours of conversation with someone you're dating, or even in a early stages of a relationship with, about all these things, it is important to make sure that it's during the screening process of dating that person understands that life will still happen. The only thing is that you're supposed to have somebody to go through it with, that you're not going through it alone, and that you guys like have an understanding about how, you know, to support each other through whatever life throws. Like, life is going to have things. And I feel like my ideal is, granted, ideally we want to just literally ride off into the sunset and live happily ever after, but that's not realistic. My ideal is that those things that happen be external and not internal. Internal is like, literally, like, to me, the basic way that I can like explain it is basically either you or your partner's unhealed stuff, like, that manifests. External stuff is stuff you can't control: loss of a job, illness, loss of a parent, financial trouble, or, you know, just those things that are external. Those are like the ideal. Stuff like, that's totally different. But yeah, just making sure that you guys understand the chiseling, because it's gonna happen.
Does anyone else want to comment? Right. Chanela said you got that right. Okay, I wanted to add, like when I had commented before, just like Angelie was saying on piggybacking off of the chiseling. So I believe we had the question earlier about do you want kids, right? So you asked that question, that was in the dating portion of your relationship. Then you actually have kids. And that person that said they wanted to have kids ain't acting like they want to have kids. And that, it gets real complicated because maybe y'all didn't have a discussion of what that means. Because your version of having kids, being in labor, carrying a baby, and then raising kids as a woman, what's my responsibility? What's his responsibility? The questions of gender roles, the question of responsibility, accountability, what their come-upping was like, how they were raised, how you were raised, how y'all want to raise y'all kids together in light of what you learned and what you've gone through as a child and have now wanted to change as an adult going into parenthood. That's part of that chiseling as well. Go ahead, Angelie. I don't want you to lose your train of thought.
So that's a really important point. I'm just curious, like, because that can manifest in different ways. Somebody wanting kids, and then once you actually have one or two, how them not wanting to be a parent. It could be them literally just checking out, like being overly busy with things that don't include family, or it could be, I don't know. That can look super different. That can manifest in a lot of different ways. They could just seem edgy or like angry all of a sudden, even if they come home every night and they provide and they go to the little family day and pick apples or whatever.
Anyone else with a comment? Destiny? Okay. Anyone else? She's occupied. Hold on, I see something in the chat. Give me a second.
Oh no, I was just giving praise in the chat. Like when Angelique said that marriage is overly romanticized. I'm like, yes, I was over here clapping my hands. I'm glad I was on mute. I'm glad I was on mute because a couple of things I'm hearing you guys say, I just put in the chat when I agree. The other thing that I want to do, I have this conversation with our friend group. I have a couple of friend groups that I have this conversation with. And one of the things a male friend of mine said is that a lot of people in long-term relationships, you have to provide your partner with permission to grow. You have got to provide permission for growth because who you are at 19, you will not be that person at 29.
That is so true.
Be that person at 39.
Oh, you got
and sometimes you're not even the same person in 1 month. In a month, you're not the same person. So, and factors start to happen in your life, like you have a baby, and then, oh yeah, I want a baby. You have that baby, and you're like, oh shit, this is not what I really wanted, because the full scope of it. So, a male friend of mine was talking about in a long-term relationship, you have got to have permission to grow, and that their couple should have a point in their relationship where they literally come to the table, not about what you bring to the table, come to the table and reevaluate the situation that you're in and be upfront. Hey, we done had this baby and I don't really like it. I don't really like how it changed things. But you have to be willing to do the chiseling that Angelique was talking about, but you also have to have the humanity to know your partner is going to change.
You know what that reminded me of? Annette, do you remember, now this is a safe space, but I want your permission to bring up something that you told me about you.
Sure.
Do you remember, like during the first year of motherhood, we had a conversation on the phone and you were telling me how you felt like you were going through a process of grieving who you were before, and also just like things about your body and how your body was. And when you said that, it was not anything that I'd ever thought about. Probably because I've not had children, but yeah, you were just telling me that you were going through like this spiritual journey of like, who am I now? Because you just felt so different and you realized that you were so different. And I was like, so what Gloria just said about changing, that made me that made me think about that.
For sure. And that's why I said the answers change. And I'm doing that work for myself. But it's not always that happens. A lot of, and you know, it goes back to, I think one of the book discussions we had, and we talked about intuition. And intuitively, not only did I hear myself, I responded. Because it's one thing to like feel unsure, uneasy, but then don't respond to it. You push it down, especially women who are mothers, about to become mothers. You got to focus on this process right now, especially at the time when I was pregnant. I had a lot of health issues. So I was trying to really focus on, you know, being my best health-wise in order to just get through the pregnancy. But I could not neglect things mentally. And that's just the kind of person I am. I knew that I needed to be whole in, you know, mind, body, and spirit in order to get through this. If probably in my 20s or so, I thought about, yeah, of course I want to have kids. But then there came a point where, oh, this is not happening, moving on. And that completely changed. And that's why I really found myself in that space where it was like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. Like, I am about to be a mother. My whole thought on life when I decided kids are out of the picture, it was all, you know, fun, free, fantasy, yada, yada, doing my thing, having fun. That completely changes. And you gotta then, well, personally, me, I'm just speak personally, not just you. It's time to ask questions again, reevaluate everything, because you're bringing another life into this world. You are now responsible for an adult in the making, and their mind, body, and spirit. So you need to rethink all that. And it doesn't always have to be that extreme. When you're coming into a relationship and you're trying to, you know, go for a marriage or a long-term relationship, like I said, these things have to keep coming up. That's the only way you'll get through to whether or not you should actually even stay in that relationship. Because even if you are pregnant, or you guys maybe start a business together, you got a home together, just because you made that commitment, don't mean you should stay in that commitment all the time. Because it may not be feeding you, like you were saying earlier, what you need. You thought maybe, you know, from initially what you guys talked about, you're going in the same direction. You know, this person is out there for you, y'all out doing the same things. But then you have some self-discovery. You start asking those same questions to yourself again 10 years later. The answers are starting to change. You have to listen to that intuition, reevaluate. And just like everyone was talking about communication, it's time to communicate with that partner again. But it is also most important to be communicating with self, so that when you're coming to that partner, it's okay, I've done this, you know, evaluation for myself. I want to reevaluate things with you, and then I want to reevaluate us. Because I always look at it as 3 parts. Just like one of the older couples was saying, and I'm sure teachers can relate, part, whole. That's what it's about. Okay. Darlene, can you talk? Oh, there you are. Finally, we got you in here. So joining us, I'm just going to recap you. We started with one of the popular music videos. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sorry who the other artist was with Usher. It's a wedding song. I'm just commenting on the lyrics of that. Then we went into a clip from a pastor talking about motives. And that discussion was primarily focused on the questions asked during the dating period. And we talked a bit about that, and followed up into a video featuring older couples and them talking about their life and experience and how they have the longevity they have. So that's where we're bridging right now. If you want to add anything to this conversation, please go ahead.
Oh, first, which Usher love song? Because he has about like 16 songs. It's all about love.
No, it was a wedding song actually. It was him and another artist. Give me one moment.
A wedding.
Sorry about that, ladies.
Hi.
I've got little ones. Okay.
We've all got little ones. Okay.
So I caught the last concert. That's what I was finally able to hear, and it was entering motherhood and making sure that you're concentrating on being able to get through that pregnancy, making sure that you're maintaining your own overall health, and then I guess if things must have gone awry somewhere in the relationship while pregnant or prior to learning that you are pregnant, evaluating yourself and what you want for that relationship, as well as finding a proper way to communicate with your partner and seeing what their evaluation is. And then the third portion of assessing what the both of you are able to assess out of the relationship to reevaluate it together. Is that correct? Okay, so I agree with that. I concur all the way. I'm a firm believer that if you are not centered with yourself and you don't know who you are, you have no idea where you're going. It's important to know your path. It's important to know that you're walking in pure light. And when I say pure light, that you don't have toxicity within yourself or surrounding you and coming to you from others accidentally and infiltrating in your own consciousness or in your relationship. I think that when you know who you are, even prior to entering a romantic relationship, whether it's just boyfriend and girlfriends or whatever, that when you are centered and know who you are, and it's okay to still keep growing, but you have a path, a journey for yourself that you're set to, and you found someone that complements you and vice versa, you can go ahead and go on. But if you're not whole and then you try to enter relationships, you're going to just continue breaking relationships or imitating that person's own behavior or taking on their own journey and goals and not having any ambition or idea for yourself. And often that obviously won't fare well in the end, because ultimately you either resent that person, they'll resent you, or you guys are going to continue to grow apart slowly but surely. Anyone else in here, moms besides us?
I'm a mom.
A couple of moms.
I'm a mom. Leah's a mom.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You could reintroduce yourself. I don't think she heard me.
Oh, okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Darlin, also known as Nana Dark.
Who's that?
I wanted to pick up on something Dar said earlier. I want to pick up on something she said, and it just stuck out to me. Before you become a mother, a wife, girlfriend, or anything, singleness is so important. And
absolutely
that part of my life. I skipped that part. I didn't spend enough time single before my first marriage. I find that singleness is so important because you got to know who you are when you go to the table. You got to know who you are. You got to know what you have. You got to know your weaknesses. You got to know your strengths. And not only that, it takes a strong self-esteem to be in any relationship.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's called a SWOT: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And that should be applied across every aspect of your life. I'm totally in agreement with you. This is Gloria, right?
Yes.
Yes, I'm in total agreement. I had this conversation with Annette the other day as well, that when you are single, it's the best time to be you, the best time to explore, because you don't have any obligations. The more obligations you have in terms of attachment to people, whether it's for work, whether it's as a student, whether it's as a child, whether it's as a mother, whether it's a girlfriend or a wife, you are giving parts of you away. And if you're spiritual and you're trying to worship the Lord, or you're trying to learn yourself, build your own business, all these things require your time. And learning time management is crucial to being able to achieve it all, because we can all have it all. We think we can't, but time management is a part of knowing who you are, having that SWOT, and being realistic, like Annette was saying, and in evaluating who you are is a key component. Because a lot of the times we think our poop don't stink, and in reality, we just out here spreading diarrhea all over the place, and it's gross. It's the truth. Yes, Angelique, it's the truth. A lot of us will walk around funky and we don't know. We can't smell our own underarms. We can't smell our own lips. And we got to take a shower. We need to sit down and woosah for a second and really light some candles and think real hard. You know, you ever heard that statement that you could be the person that's blocking your own blessings, or maybe you should light some sage and see if you pass out? That's a real thing. Sometimes you don't know that you are your own trauma. And that's because you're walking around with trauma so heavily all over your sleeves, you're spreading it.
Dar, can you please the SWOT thing? Can you repeat that?
So that's SWOT. That stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's typically used in like the business field to assess companies. But when you evaluate against yourself as a person, you know that statement, what do you bring to the table? That's a real thing. It is your SWOT that you're actually conversing about. So knowing what your strengths are as a person and your weaknesses, because whether we're friends, just homegirls, right? What do we do to compliment each other? Like if Annette is going through something, how can I be of support to her? What are my strengths in her times of tribulation, as well as in her times of success? How do I support her success and continued growth? Then for my own self, what are my own opportunities? What are my own accomplishments and personal goals, and how do I go about achieving that? And then what are my threats? Is my health a factor? Is childbearing an issue? Am I dealing with cysts, fibroids, PCOS, hair loss, low self-esteem, weight gain, weight loss? What are you going through personally? Do you have toxicity in your home? Because sometimes our families are the dead weights or the poison, sometimes the baggage that we're walking with. And how do you bring someone that you're trying to be entangled with permanently into this and getting them to accept you and understand that you understand your family and you're not bringing that negativity into that relationship? And that's where your threat has to be evaluated, because once you realize that, you're recognizing what your threats are to whatever relationships you're trying to form.
I just want to throw in a conversation that you and I had in terms of once you've done this work that you just was discussing, you're able to see when your partner or the potential partner that you meet is throwing you a fishing line. We had a conversation about being catfished before, Angelie. And Darlene, when we talked about not falling in love with a person's intentions, falling in love with their actions, you won't see the difference if you haven't done the self-work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know what? A lot of the times, right, we'll go out there, for those of us who are dating, and we'll just tell a guy exactly what we want. And men do not process information the way of a woman. Doesn't matter how masculine of a woman you are, your femininity kicks in when you want what you want. And I have 12 brothers. So I'm telling you personally, and I work in the business field amongst many, many men. I've traveled many countries where men are predominantly the dominant species, running around and doing whatever. Speaking to a guy in the form of a woman isn't going to get you anywhere. And it sucks, but it's just the truth. How we are taught to approach things very, very differently. When you want to approach a conversation, especially if it's something serious, there's a different way to do it with a guy. And it is better to do it in a playful and dainty way. It sucks, but it's so true. So for a lot of us who don't want to have to deal with stroking egos, that's also part of the relationship. Unfortunately, it comes with the territory.
That I believe definitely that's part of the longevity. The older couples was kind of not explaining, which is why Gloria thought it was too cookie cutter. It's taking me to this other quote that I had. Sometimes I know for me it's hard as well, just what you were saying. And I get angry at that fact. You know, we have to speak differently, but you have to realize as well, just like people love differently, they communicate differently. So it's very important to have that kind of conversation and connection with your partner where you can understand how they communicate. You know, when there's too many dishes in the sink, are you yelling? Are you having a light talk? Do you kind of gotta trick them into the conversation to get what you want? Make a nice dinner. it's like it's different for everybody, and that goes into that relationship. But sometimes you just want to tear your hair out because that's not how you want to communicate. And sometimes that venting, and I just want things the way I want it. And sometimes it's a breakdown because a lot of times with women, it's not just whatever it is in the moment. It's, oh, you all the time doing this, or I'm so tired of this. And it's a build up of other things. And like she was saying, for a guy, it's like they don't see that a lot of times. Because you haven't communicated that, you haven't explained that, you allowed certain behavior to keep going, and you were excusing it or not making a big deal about it. And then you blow up over something else, thinking about all those other things. And it's important not to just have those conversations, but like the older woman was saying, sometimes she's upset and arguing, and then she turned around and she realized she's talking to herself because he done walked away. And that's how they've been able to have their longevity, because clearly he don't communicate like that. So she comes back, they come back together at some point, probably talking calmly, or he apologizes and they move on. But of course, you know, it takes time to get to that point because you had to communicate it. But it's important as well for me to realize I'm about to blow, number one. And before I vent in anger, let me think about this a little bit. Let me go back to everything that I've learned about communicating and think about how he likes to be communicated with, and make sure that I'm separating any other baggage outside of the issue at hand. Go ahead, Angelie.
Concur.
Thinking about all this stuff, like just this last section of the conversation, since Dar got on the line, it just reminds me, like, you have to be really ready and really mature to be in a relationship. People want the relationship. They want the butterflies. They want the holding hands on the beach. They want the photos for Instagram and whatever. But it's like, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of work to really build it and keep it functioning.
Absolutely correct. You know, one of the things that you just mentioned, like the pretty butterfly things, and one of the things I first said when I got on, we want it all and we deserve it all, and we truly can have it all. I spoke with Annette, and I spoke to several people the other day about this. When we were growing up, our families kind of failed us, and I can't speak for everyone here when I say that, but I can definitely say that for my own, especially because I have 12 brothers. Nobody set me up in terms of understanding the appropriate ways to go dating, how to actually select the proper partner, and what I should be looking for. I had to figure that out the hard way, and that's through older friends, peers of my age, younger friends. Again, when we're talking about the Disney movies and other romantical songs and videos that create these perceptions, and a lot of them are illusions. But no one actually goes into understanding emotional intelligence, being able to understand that a person's comprehension is actually the initial key before we talk about communication. Because it doesn't matter how much you're able to communicate and find different ways of communicating if the person simply can't understand or hear you. If they can't connect, you're already at a loss. So it's about being able to communicate to that person on a level that they can process what you're saying, understanding their languages, whether it's for money language, love language, sex language, physical language. It's all about the approach. And like I said, the sucky thing with guys are, no matter how mature they are, men are children. And it's not to be disrespectful when I say that, because when you're speaking to a man, you should speak to him as a man. But the truth is, they're visual creatures. And you know who else are visual creatures? Kids. They're never going to go pick up a broccoli to go eat, right? If you put a jar of candy in front of them, neither will a man. A man is going to always pick whatever looks shiny and glittery. As an older woman, we're going to want to advise, wait, which one's going to give me the best benefit? Which one's going to keep my stomach flat? Which one get my hair long? We care about a lot of more things. We ask more questions. Guys are very, very simple. So you ever heard that statement? You have like the first 30 seconds to capture someone's attention. When you're trying to communicate with a person, that is a real thing. And it's more real when you're speaking to a man. You got 30 seconds to make him understand, or he is disconnected. You ever seen that cartoon illustration is it called Charlie Brown, where when the parents are speaking, all you hear is womp 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 womp.
That is Charlie Brown, yeah.
Yeah, that is what's happening in a guy's mind. No matter how mature and how successful he is, they are visual creatures. Like how Annette gave videos for us to assess it and view it. To get a guy to have a proper conversation with you sometimes, especially if it's going to be something that's hard and it's going to make his ego feel a little bit bruised, you might want to do that. You might want to throw a video in there, a meme or something, so that he could be like, you could ask him, so what do you think about that? Because that already gauges you in which direction to take the conversation. Those are just like little things that I've learned throughout the years to make me understand a person's comprehension is the first key and their attention span is second. So it's all about approach. And it's interesting that she said that because I was speaking to Annette about a jar game where you put 200 real questions that you really want to ask and you make it a game. Put some drinks out there and get that person to throw you the truth. And you play that game too, because this is what we're talking about, that SWOT, that strength, weakness, and opportunity and threat. You want to know, what am I lying to myself? You know, like ask him, how do you define cheating? Because a man's definition of cheating is not the same as that of a woman's. So those are like real things. You know, ask, what are your 3 to 5 top deal breakers? And you should know that too when you're going through a shit. What would make me say no? What could you forgive? Because some of us can forgive physical cheating, but we can't forgive emotional cheating. There's a difference. Whereas a man, more than likely, he can't forgive physical cheating, but he doesn't care about your emotional cheating. Those are real things to think about. Because if he doesn't care about your emotional cheating, does he care about your overall emotions?
No, yeah, I would just want to say that part right there. I would have a problem with them not caring about emotional cheating.
Because that's us as women. The details, the emotional cheating, those are details for us. So hold on, you didn't just sleep with her. You told her your life story. You didn't even tell me. I'm supposed to be your friend. How could you ever have a best friend and they told someone else something that you thought that they were supposed to tell you first? It's like if I was pregnant and then my best friend found out, like she's like the 1200th person to find out. I'm like, okay. You got a problem right with your friend. You're probably mad at you.
I'm agreeing with a lot of stuff and I disagree with some other stuff. But the one thing that Angelique said in the very beginning of this conversation is just be upfront. Just be upfront. And the one thing that I really can't deal with now, I'm older and I done been through the Disney princess phase. I done been through we walk in with hands on the beach phase. You know, I've been through all of that and made a lot of mistakes. Just like you were saying, Dar, nobody taught me any better. Nobody taught me. And I didn't have those models, but just be upfront. And the one thing that I have sorted through very quickly in this dating game is a man who is emotionally immature. If you do not have a high EQ, step away from me. Step away from me, because your emotional quotient for me is just as important as your IQ. If you do not have the ability to handle me when I have an explosion or an outburst or whatever, keep it stepping, my man. Keep it stepping. And I found these things out very early in the dating process, very early, because there is a game on, if you do search, there is a link that is 100 questions you should ask on a first date.
I got one too. I got one right here. I created it.
When during COVID, I met a man during the chat. I gotta go find it. But I met a man during COVID and we hooked up during COVID. We've been dating ever since. I asked him them 100 questions in our first date.
That sounds like
first
a
date.
Wait, I'm sorry, all 100?
All 100, boo-boo.
Did you do it? What was your approach? Did you do it as a game?
It was like a rapid fire. It was like a rapid fire. So
did you play the game too and answer questions as well? Okay, so very good.
We did it in 5-minute increments. So the first 5 minutes, I was like, I'm gonna ask you these certain questions. You can only answer in one word. Explanation, you just answer. And after that 5-minute time frame, I set a timer on my phone. After that 5-minute time frame, then he had the opportunity to go back and more deeply explain only one of the 5 questions. So we did it in like a gamey format. Then when I got through it, our next conversation, because it was COVID, so we weren't meeting face to face. This was like some phone conversations, some online conversations where we were verbally talking to each other. but literally it took us maybe 3 phone dates to get through. The first date, we got through like a lot of questions, but we kind of like went more in depth about our answers over the next 2 dates. But we have been dating ever since. So this is 2022.
Oh, well, God, girl, it worked out.
Yes.
That was my next follow-up question. Well, how did it work out?
Yeah, because
And,
I let him know I cannot deal with a man with low EQ. And at that moment, he didn't even know what that was. He didn't even know what EQ was. And I was like, your emotional quotient. And I'm like, I'm a highly emotional person. I communicate most effectively with my emotions. And you'll see when I do things. So I let him know upfront out the gate, I had to know who I was in order to communicate that. I had to know who I was. So singleness was important. And then he let me know who he was. And don't believe, and we were talking about chiseling. There's been a chiseling process in this 2 years. There's been a chiseling process, but we are very upfront. And it's not Disney princesses no more.
well, I'm very happy it's worked out. These are the things that I learned after my debacle. And so I learned to make sure that these are things that I go forward with in dating. And unfortunately for me, with the whole COVID thing, I got sick, so I haven't gone to experience it yet. So I'm looking forward to it this summer to find my boo thing. And I'm wishing everyone the best, whether they're already married, to maintain that marriage for the long haul, as well as their relationship to either rectify and fix it and get to an even better place and continue to elevate. Or if you're entering one, to make sure you're choosing the right one. And if you're dating, to make sure you're not throwing your eggs in one basket, that's the wrong one. So I'm wishing everybody so much luck. And I'm very happy for you, Gloria.
You, well, I just want to put it out there. It's still a chiseling process. And one thing that I've been married, I'll just be very transparent, been married twice and divorced twice. So, I mean, I learned a lot through my personal debacles. I learned a lot through my being alone. I learned so much about myself. So anybody in a even if you in a relationship, I think that there should be, I think you were talking about time management, Dar, earlier. I think
yes.
Moments even in your relationship, you married, I don't care how many years you've been married, you need time alone. You have some time to just be your single individual self.
So
I want to add on to that. So I'm like extremely single. I've been single like most of my adult life. I've never been married. I don't have kids. But I watch like what I see around me, and I try to learn from other people's experiences. And one of the things that I've seen a lot is that people get out of relationships and go right back into another one. And it's
with the
like you
same
didn't
person
take
with a
any
different
time,
face?
huh?
With the same person with a different face?
Oh, that's a whole separate conversation. I'm sure sometimes. I'm definitely sure sometimes, because you're bound to repeat things. You didn't take any time to self-reflect or even think about what you may have contributed to the demise of the relationship. And you just go from person to person.
I agree.
And it's just, even now I have a cousin, a male cousin. He got married in September 2020, and he's legally still married, but he dates whoever he wants. His wife has a whole boyfriend. And I'm like, y'all ain't even divorced, and y'all like, what is going on?
Well,
but I mean that could be an open marriage, Angelique. Remember, everybody marriage is a little different.
No, I wouldn't have brought it up if I thought it wasn't. It's not open. And my cousin and me have talked. He even admitted like they shouldn't have gotten married. He's not husband material. Like, he understands what he did. But I just brought up as an example. But yeah, I see people, and not just that, like over the course of my life, I see people just go from thing to thing. So I do agree that it's very important to have that time alone.
So I'll give you a little example based on what you just said. I have an aunt who got married to her husband when she was 18, and they've been happily married since then. They have 5 children, bought several houses together, and they're thriving and still very much in love and very romantic, right? And then I have a friend of mine whose parents got married around the same age, and he went into the military. He was cheating on her left and right, has about 3 or 4 kids outside of the marriage.
Dang.
And although they separated, they found a way to get back together and heal, because what for him was he was just immature. He wasn't ready for marriage. He got married because he didn't know if he was going to make it back. And he messed up not knowing what love was. And he felt inexperienced in being able to please her too. And so he was out there in those streets, to the point where the side chick was coming as if she was the main one, approaching her saying, "Where's my man at, and why is he over there?" So, but they found a way to work through it, and they're still married, and they had their horrible moments, but here they are living in bliss. Everyone's tolerance levels are different. And a lot of it has to do with your self-esteem and what your worth is. Because one of the biggest things that I learned from my father was, if a man cheats on me and I stay, and he knows that I know he cheated on me, he's not going to stop.
Nope.
He's not going to stop.
Because you already showed that you'll accept that behavior.
Yep. It's the same thing with when you let a guy hit you. Once they know that they can get away with it, it will take place some point in time again. So it's either you pretend not to know, or you pretend that there's going to be a consequence. Because a lot of the things, like our age group is different, right? Our parents, a lot of the women, first of all, they had a harder time finding successful employment. So they stayed for lots of reasons. Like that mother, for instance, is because he was the breadwinner. He sent the money home. So divorcing, you got 4 kids to feed. She had to think about the kids. That's how she looked at it. So one of the things that she went and did when he was out there cheating was go back to school, get her own degree. And when she started making money, this is when they actually separated, because she knew that she could finally provide for herself and the children. So sometimes women stay, not because they think that they need to stay, they can't find better, because financially they can't. Then there are women who have sexually transmitted diseases, and this person accepted them with the STD or gave them the STD. So they feel like they have to stay for those reasons because they don't think anyone else is going to love them. Then you have women who are dealing with low self-esteem. So they feel like they can't go because it's the only person that accepted them in however they look at whatever phase, because they can't see their own beauty. And again, all of this goes back to the very initial point. Who are you before you get into this relationship? Enjoy your singleness, not to just have fun being single and being promiscuous just in case you are, but literally in terms of learning, who are you and what do you really bring to the table? And not just what do you bring to the table, what do you expect to be brought to you at the table too?
Thank you, Dar. I wanted to go over some of these questions that you had as a part of the game you were talking about.
Yeah, so
this
is something that I gave to a homegirl of mine who was dating a guy. And she played these games, and I said, well, whatever kind of questions, like, some of it's light, some of it's heavy. And you see that SWOT, like if you were a business, what is your SWOT? So these are like real things to ask, and you should be looking at them and asking yourself, well, what are these questions? Like, what are your triggers? You might not realize what your pet peeves are. Like, someone might think it's crazy, but a wet sink pisses me off. And that's something small to some people, but for real, I don't know what, it grosses me out. It's just my thing. Wet sink. A wet sink, especially a bathroom.
The kitchen or the bathroom or both?
Both irritate me, but the bathroom is worse. They both irritate you, but the bathroom is absolutely. Even if I'm in public, I have to dry the thing. Even if I'm outside, it just irritates me. I don't know why. And I firmly believe in testing the spirit. You gotta fake some things just to see what that person's gonna do, because you don't know what that person's gonna do when poop hits the fan. So create the poop in the fan already to know, well, if this really happens, what would this person do? Because some guys, they're not built for certain things, especially like if you're sick or have chronic health issues. Some men are weak. Some men don't know how to deal with that or how to be present. And you want to know, well, if something really happens to me, can this person really be there for me? And vice versa. Some of us think that, oh, I'm a woman, I would naturally be there. Actually, it's not. I know a guy who was married. He had a terrible car accident. They cut off his legs. His wife left him. Not for anything else, but because she couldn't deal with him not having legs. It was.
You married?
I am single, girl. I just said that, I learned.
I missed it. I wasn't sure. Are you in a relationship or are you in a long-term relationship?
No. I have been single since the hit of the pandemic. I left the father of my children the day of my surgery.
Oh, okay.
What made you inquire?
Because I'm looking at your chart and I'm listening to everything that you're saying. And, I don't know, it's like you have like a lot of solutions to a lot of different things. So it just kind of made me think, is this something that you're doing in your relationship, or is this just something that you've thought of that would work in a relationship?
Oh no. So in my relationship, remember that discussion I had with comprehension and perception? I dated the father of my children. He is a good man. Like if you guys met him, you would say, "Oh, he's a good guy. He's hardworking. He's an earnest person." But I dated his intentions and not his actions. Right? He's a good father if we're together. If we are apart, it's a complete failure. And the reason why we're not able to work out is because that example that I gave, like when you're sick, can that person really be there for you? Unfortunately, he's not the one who can. I have daughters with him. He does not change them. He won't wipe their private area. He won't bathe them because he says he's uncomfortable and thinks it's strange that as a man that I would require him to do that. Yet you're the father. So those are things that led for me to just say we are not going to work out.
I want to ask one question to everyone before I go into the next clip that's going to wrap us up. Do you believe in soulmates?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily. I also don't like poo-poo anyone else feeling like they've met their soulmate. But I feel like at any given time, you could be compatible with a number of people. And I think that relationships have more to do with you putting in the work and being with somebody else who's willing to put into the work and the chiseling and stuff. I think that that's more indicative of long-term success than a feeling, because feelings can change. And even like what Gloria was saying earlier about you're not the same person at 19 that you are at 25 or at 35 or whatever. It's true. You have to really understand the essence of the person, and because there are little, like there's a core to a person that kind of is always there, but there are going to be a lot of changes. So for that reason, I don't necessarily believe in soulmates.
Anyone else?
Do you think, Angelie, do you think that you can only have one soulmate?
Ooh, that's why I don't believe in soulmates.
Yeah, see, because so like for somebody who goes from relationship to relationship, like what do you, oh, this is my soulmate. Oh, though this is the person I was supposed to be. It gets real like sloppy. But if we're talking about like maybe someone lost a spouse, like the person died or something, and then they met someone else who was also like just fit where they were and what they needed, that person might feel like they found two soulmates. But no, that's why I said I feel like at different stages in your life, there's a number of people that you could be compatible with. You just, you have to meet people. And sometimes those things are real sensitive. Sometimes you don't even realize you've already met somebody. I know someone who's married, and she didn't realize she had already met her husband at like a mutual friend's wedding like years before, and he was in the wedding. And she was like, I didn't even see him. I don't remember him, nothing. So it's just about your paths crossing. But no, I think it's a real like concept. It's like, it's almost like the fairy tale ending. It's like, it's not, It sounds nice, but is it realistic?
That's that Disney right there. I don't even like that phrase.
Soulmate. Like,
I totally believed in it growing up because I was definitely into that fantasy. But now I just age, maturity, things change. And I feel like on a spiritual level, you can have connections to so many people, so many different ways.
That I do not believe in soulmates. I do not. And
Yeah, I saw your
huh?
No, I saw your statement. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. And I wanted to elaborate, right? I just based this off of science and just my own way of logically reasoning with the world around me. The reason why I do not believe in soulmates is because if you look at it, we are, as an individual, each one of us in this group, we are sexually compatible with millions of different people. Just sexually compatible. And then not only are we sexually compatible with millions of people, we would be even attracted to millions of people if you were able to come in contact with these people, right? And you think about how many different relationships you go, if you were saying earlier that you travel to different countries and stuff, and some people easily build friendships, right? And every soulmate doesn't have to be a sexual partner. So based on the fact that you can talk to multiple people, attracted to multiple people, have sex with multiple people, find physical arousal with multiple people, just based on that stream of thinking. I just do not believe in one or any soulmate. I believe that as beings, as balls of energy, we can mesh our energy when we choose to with any other energy. I just believe that. I mean, there have been points in my life when I was at a very low vibration and everything around me was low vibrational. And if you were looking at it from the outside, that would have been a soulmate. But because people change so much, people change in their journey, I just don't believe we are fixated on one person or one type of energy, because we are fluid beings. We change, our emotions change, our opinions change, circumstances change us. Even the food we like changes. Our biology changes. So that, on that premise alone, just logically thinking, I do not believe in soulmates.
Okay. So I believe that you can have soulmates. In the same way I believe that you can have multiple best friends, I believe you can have multiple soulmates. And I think a lot of us tie having a soulmate to being with a romantic partner, and I don't believe that your soulmate only has to be a romantic partner. I also believe, and a study was conducted as of, I think it was 2021 recently, where they did a study on soulmates, and actually more men over women believe in soulmates by 74% out of 100.
Anyone else want to add before I go into this last video?
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
What Dara was saying about, dating at a low vibration, and my disbelief in soulmates is because even at that low vibrational level, even when you're not dating, your friend groups, your associations, anything you're doing as an individual, as you're moving through, spreading that same toxicity that you were talking about, like those people at that particular point are your mates. Those people you're exchanging. You're in an exchange, you're in a relationship, but it's not necessarily romantic. You get what I'm saying? It's not necessarily romantic, but it's still a relationship, and you're mated at that time. If you get what I'm saying. So
I agree.
But I just feel like we mesh with so many people that I don't know. I guess I need a definitive, quantitative definition of soulmate, and I can understand it logically or numerically, then I would be able to say I agree or disagree. But just based on my own self-logic, which could be false, phallus, but just based on that, it's hard for me to believe and embrace soulmates, even though my current mate believes in soulmates.
See, when you say love, your experience of love means you feel certain sweetness of emotion within yourself. Either by looking at this person or this person or this person, we don't know who stimulates this in you. It doesn't matter who helped you, but essentially it happened within you, isn't it? Yes? Did it happen only within you or was it in the air? I'm trying to clear this air.
Combination of both.
Really? It was in the air? No, it only happened within you. Maybe what was happening within you was so exuberant, you saw it everywhere. You're in love, you thought the flowers bloomed for you, the birds are singing for you, the clouds are moving for you. Huh? All right, I don't want to destroy all the romance, okay? But essentially it's happening within you. It's wonderful that you're experiencing such sweetness of emotion, stimulated by somebody. You are using the other person as a key to open up an experience within you, essentially. I'm asking you, why are you using a key when there is no lock, when there is no door, when there's no any kind of barrier? It is just that you are a push-start machine. You know what's a push-start machine? If you have owned an Ambassador 25 years ago, always you parked it on a gradient like this, because morning, two people have to push it. If you park it like this, nobody will come, your family will not come out of the house. If it's like this, somebody will come and push it. Now all the cars or self-start, many of them remote start. What does it mean? Technological upgradation. You are an institute of technology, all right? I'm asking, would you like to upgrade your technology? That you are on self-start. If you wake up in the morning, you are overflowing with joy and love and exuberance by yourself. You don't need anybody to stimulate you. Would you like to be a self-start machine? Then you must come to me, huh? Whoever is right now doing the love in the air, it's fine with them, you don't have to tell them anything, you say, all right, it's okay.
That was funny. I follow him. He's pretty cool.
That's ironic. I follow him too. I do too.
Look at us, Gloria. We got some stuff in common.
You guys should definitely sign up for the full moon meditation that they do. Just to take part in that. It's really good. They have a couple of video recordings of it too. They're long because it's happening during the evening of the full moon, and they do it every full moon.
I really want to go back to a point that I made earlier in the conversation. Singleness is so important. And, you know, I feel like no man can give me what I already got. And if a man decided today, if he wanted to, you know, abuse me financially, manipulate me, any type of way, I am solid on my own. And for the first time in my life, I don't need a man for nothing. I got my own house. I got my own car. Kids are grown. Don't need no child support. Not like I am solid and open to love. And I don't need, you know how he was saying, when you have to, you know, you have to receive, you're going in with the intention to pull, to draw from. I don't need to take from nobody's cup, because my cup is running over. And I can,
amen.
Right, and I'm at a point in my life, and don't get me wrong, so I done been through some stuff now. I done been through some stuff.
But it's about being healed. You could go through stuff. The experience is important. You needed that for your journey to get you to where you needed to go. That's
right.
Okay.
And I done been through some stuff, but I really, and there is another man that I follow. He is actually deceased. I believe he died in a plane crash. His name is Dr. Miles Monroe, and
he died. No,
oh, I heard of him.
Yeah,
he didn't die.
Yeah,
I
he
believe
did
he
about
died
3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, in a plane crash.
Yeah.
What?
I'm devastated to hear that. Yes. And he is a powerful speaker.
Oh, the evangelist speaker. I listened to his church sermons. He died.
Yes, Miles Monroe. He's from the Bahamas. He's Bohemian.
Yeah. I you know, when you said his name, initially I got confused. There's another one, R.C. Blake's. I follow him too. So
no, not R.C. Blake's. I know who that is. No.
Yeah. No, but this is
Miles Monroe.
pastor, the evangelist. Yes.
Yes. And when I tell you, he has such a powerful series on how to be single, why you should be single, what you should be doing while you're single, and
learning yourself, learning God. Yep.
Right. And then he also talks about how when you know a man, how do you know when a man is ready to how you come up as already being a wife? You know, a man who finds a wife, that means you was already a wife, even without a ring. You know, Also he talks about when women find their Adam, he was like, you need to model the man that you marry after the biblical perspective of Adam. Adam had a job. Adam was healed. Adam was happy. I mean, he talks about Adam had a purpose. If you meet a man who don't have no purpose, no job, that ain't the man for you. That is not your husband.
Correct. Agreed.
And he does a really good job of using Adam, you know, the story of Adam and all the things that Adam had before God introduced Eve. And everything Eve came to the table full. Eve was a whole person when she came on. So he really does a good job of even breaking down that whole rib thing. You know, we think, oh, I gotta find my men, gotta find their rib. No, he does it such a logical, you know, sometimes Christians can seem so spiritual that it's no earthly good. Like you can't make sense of it. He has very tangible teachings.
Okay, I'm gonna post it right now so everyone cool. It's the series you're talking about is called The Advantage of Being Single.
Yeah, girl, I really took that 5 years and just invested in myself. I took that 5 years of singleness. I invested in myself. I'm still in therapy. I see a therapist regularly because my self-care and my mental state is my number one prized possession right now.
Mm-hmm.
I prioritize nothing above my mental health.
Gloria, I'm gonna end with you.
In what
Gloria?
manner? In what manner?
Oh, you were I thought you had something to say.
Oh, this conversation has been so rich and just so diverse, and there's been so many nuggets and jewels for me to take back, as a woman. I really feel like we should have had a man online. I tried to get Boo Thing. He was in a tournament. I was like, join the link. He was in a tournament.
It's not too late. We could plan another session because
I tried as well, though. A lot of guys were not
come on, they'll drop some gems on you, the good ones and the bad ones.
Yeah.
Even my father, he'll tell you the truth. My father's one of the guys who told me I need 5 guys for 5 different reasons.
And there's actually a movie like that. There's a movie where a woman is dating 5 different men, and she breaks down the aspects that each man provides for her life. But in essence, I really feel like a male perspective, if we're talking about marriage, because the Disney princess version always gives it from the girl's perspective. She wears the dress, she meets the prince, and they live happily ever after.
Actually, these Disney shows weren't even written by women. And if we assess that, this goes back into slavery and demoralizing women, because if you notice all these Disney princesses until the most recent ones, all these girls are between 12 and like 16. You gotta look,
right.
That's a white people problem right there. That's a whole other ballgame. That's a white people concept.
But as I was saying, because I'm only speaking from a female perspective, and I feel like sometimes because we don't have the male voice in this particular conversation, I feel like there's a lack of representation here. But I will say this as a woman, in my journey, from 43 years on this planet, my mistakes, my successes, getting degrees, and just growing as a woman, I really realized the importance of stability. And I hate that question, what we bring to the table, because, I had to tell men a lot of times, I brought the house with a table in it. So, like, what are you talking about? But
he doesn't care about your house because he probably could buy a better one or a bigger one. So beyond the physical thing, what else do you bring?
The thing that I'm saying is, like, I just feel like when women show up whole, you are going to increase your chances of success and longevity in any relationship. When you show up present and whole, balanced, stable, and I'm talking about in the domains mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. You show up whole, you are going to have a higher chance of having and maintaining long-term successful relationships and marriages. When you come thirsty or desperate, you're opening yourself up to be abused.
Sorry, because I'm going to come off record. I want to thank you guys for just dropping all these gems and all this wisdom as well. A lot of this we talked about before on the channel, and I just want to reiterate, as I have before, it's very important for parents and caregivers really take these words to heart and think about how we're raising our girls and boys, what we're instilling in them, how we're building their self-esteem and giving them the room to basically flourish and build upon those things in their later years. And that's where it starts, because it's one thing to find your awakening, have that maturity when you become, a certain age with all the development of the brain and, just how our society kind of governs things and allows you to have certain experiences at certain ages. which will help to facilitate certain things, but it takes them a lot longer when they don't already come with it. You know, once mom, dad, caregiver, let's go, it's only what was poured in, you know, and it may take a lot more heartbreak to get to a level where they can be in a relationship whole or even find that wholeness. But they had to get all of this toxic and damaging experience before they got there, or have to deal with someone compromising themselves along the way for decades to come. Another thing we talked about was when to leave. And I know we want to kind of put it on a light note at some point on the green flags. And as we've discussed before, like I said, that intuition, and it only comes with having all those things poured into you in the first place. You're not gonna see someone kind of pulling the wool over your eyes and focusing on their intentions instead of their actions, when all those things building up to that point before you got into that relationship were put there. So again, I want to thank you, ladies. I'm hoping that we'll have some men in the chats, maybe some video responses. Guys are always welcome. Everyone's always welcome. I always post it on all the social media pages, the Zoom links. And if you have any other links, any other gaming ideas or questions that I can add to the channel in the description, do email me, message me, however you want to get it to me. By next week, just thank you and good night.